All right. Welcome to another edition of Sabbath Lounge. This is Matt.
And Jake here.
Coming to you with another Torah portion. And Jake, what are we on?
This is Pekudei.
It's
Pekudei or something. And this is week 23. And this is the second part of a double portion, I believe. This is accounts.
Yeah.
And we'll be going, this ties in with our last portion. You can check that out. And this goes all the way up to Exodus 40, verse 38.
And so in this one, Jake, we have this comparison between the priestly garments are a lot like the armor of God that we read about in Ephesians.
Yes, they are.
So
yeah, in this part, he starts talking about all the things that are going into how the priest is going to dress up for their activities. And then, so here in Ephesians, he says, "Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked."
And I didn't put the address down here, but it's Ephesians 6.
Okay, Ephesians 6.
But most people are familiar with the scripture.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of interesting to tie these two concepts together. And so, Jake, what is the breastplate of righteousness in the tabernacle?
It's the breastplate that has all the stones representing the 12 tribes in it.
So how does that, the breastplate, how do you think that could be? How can you make that connection and call that a breastplate of righteousness?
Well,
I would
look at it like they are to be a righteous nation, going out and witnessing to the other nations and being an example for the other nations. And so that covers your heart, and so that's a heart issue. Your righteousness is a heart issue. It's not like coming from something else. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how I would tie that in. It has to do with the 12 tribes being a righteous nation.
Yeah. And there's so many things you could say here. You could say the feet with the gospel of peace, or like the feet of Jacob when he meets Esau. Jacob had the gospel of peace on his feet when he meets his brother. And, he could have gone to war with his brother. He could have been like, yeah, I've got the prophecies on my side.
Right.
And I'm going to take care of this. But he doesn't. He comes in peace purposefully.
Right. It's in everywhere you go, have peace about you.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got the shield of faith with Joseph, Basically, Joseph's carrying the shield of faith when the lady comes after him, when the cougar lady is like, "Come here, young boy," and he's got the shield of faith, to get away from that. So, right. You just can see these elements, and then even later in Daniel, Daniel's a great example of his loins were girded with truth, and he stood in that truth no matter what happened to him. He stood in it. But it's pretty powerful. It's a lot more powerful, I think, when you put it in the full context of Scripture and you see that people have lived out different parts of this.
Right.
And it's been there the whole time.
Yeah, that we've had examples of all these things.
Mm-hmm. Because before I came into Torah, this was kind of abstract. I'm like, but in with Bible class, and they would bring in a knight's armor and be like, "Kids, look," and I don't know.
That makes it exciting.
It does,
but it doesn't really tie into. But I think it's better to tie it back into Scripture than to tie it back into Babylon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think too often we get. Babylon takes over, and then those are the examples we use. But.
Well, and I think when we talk about to our children, we need to focus more, and then Torah naturally enables us to do this, but telling the story of these people, because they are ancestors, and pointing our children back to them and back to their roots.
Right.
So anyway, check it out. So the tabernacle is kind of coming together here. And but once again, Jake, what do you have here in the tabernacle?
You have this. It's kind of a reflection of many things. One of the things it's a reflection of is us, and so you have the work of their hands are coming together. They're still kind of finishing up the tabernacle here. So the way it's like us, which we've described in the last week, but it carries on to this week. This movable structure covered in flesh, right? There's the bread of life, the fruit of the vine, this covering in gold. What's the covering of gold? How's that like us?
So we did a teaching on gold on the ceiling. I can't remember if that's what you.
I know we keep saying gold on the ceiling.
I don't know if
it was a big part of it.
But you have this word shemin, which means his essence, his glory, and so this covering of his gold, it's the gold and the oil. It's an interesting teaching. If you've never explored all that, that's a place you could go to look. And it was this concept of an all-consuming fire that never goes out. That's supposed. How is that supposed to be in us, an all-consuming fire?
That's the the fire of being about the Father's business. It's the fire of being interested in what He's interested in, and purifying our inner man.
Mm-hmm. And that's harder to do than said, because we don't always do the right thing. It doesn't come naturally. We kind of have to force ourselves to do some things, and sometimes we're like, I don't want to do that. We don't.
Yeah. I think a lot of this stuff, since it doesn't come naturally, that's why He tells us. That's why He writes it down for us.
Yeah.
It's because it doesn't come naturally.
And it's painful to burn. Let's face it. It's painful to burn these things off. It takes effort and energy, and it hurts.
Yeah, we're a short-sighted kind of culture specifically, but a short-sighted people in general. And you want to skip anything that's painful and go right to the thing that's pleasurable.
Yeah, we're not into the slow burn on anything. We want instant success. I take this pill and I lose 500 pounds.
Right.
Great. Give it to me. Do I have to run and do all that? No, I don't want to do that. So anyway, and then you've got the light of the world in there in the tabernacle. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
And then once again, you have the light of the world. And then what's this concept of, as you approach the Lord, you must reflect upon yourself in the laver. What's a laver?
So that's the bath bowl, the bird bath thing that they have there before they go in. They wash their hands and stuff in the laver, and then they are able to go into the tent.
I didn't mean to jump ahead there, Jake.
Well, I was just going to talk real fast, but so that's kind of what that's talking about. And you would see your reflection and make sure that you are clean before you go in front of Yah. It's a way of you hear it today where how can that guy stand to look himself in the mirror? It's like, well, if you're a dirt ball, you shouldn't be able to look at yourself in the mirror, right? That's kind of the thought process.
Are you referring to Michael Jackson? Man in the mirror?
I don't know. But no. I wasn't. But thanks for tying that in.
But yes, exactly what you were talking about, and you had to have the right garments on. That just not just anybody went into the Holy Holies. Who goes into the Holy of Holies here?
The person with the armor of Yah, the priestly garments on.
Yeah. And it wasn't just Joe Blow didn't just walk in there, and if he did, it didn't end well for them.
It started to stink until they tore down and went to the next.
Yes, that's right. But we're not going to make the time, I said. But but this whole idea of cleansing yourself, doesn't it kind of make you think of a mikveh or a baptism?
Yeah.
That's kind of a reflection on that. And what about this concept of being covered in prayer and the incense? They've got the incense burner, and that's happening. And there's fire also involved, because you can't have incense without fire, at least that I'm aware of.
Right.
And so how does that tie in with the prayer?
So the incense is to rise up and be indicative of, us reaching up to Yah and that kind of thing. And so later on, you see in Psalms about how your prayers are as sweet incense and a savor unto Yah. And so, without a priesthood and a temple and a tabernacle, the way that looks for us today is prayer. Is sending. It's a relationship, and that's what Yah wants is connection with Him, and that's what the incense was meant to be.
Yeah, and it's a constant reminder, and they could smell it, see it, and then over and over through these portions, you see the sacrificing, and for a long time, I'm like, what is the deal with all the sacrificing? Why so much blood? And but it's talking about getting rid of the impurities and being willing to offer it up and burn it off, and
just like in our hearts, we're to be like that constant fire that's burning to burn off the impurities.
And there's also this concept of discretion, because Jake has butchered a few things, and you got to have some discretion about what you cut away and how you do it. And there are parts that you literally cut away and you put in the ground because they're not fit for human consumption.
Right.
But you got to have a lot of discernment as you do those things. You don't just willy-nilly. If you do, it's not going to turn out very good. No one's going to ever, even you say, hey, you want some of my deer venison, and people are gonna be like, no, I think I'll pass on there.
It's like in Judges when I can't remember the guy's name now. He sneaks into has a secret for the king, and really he's gonna stab him. And the guy's real fat, and he stabs him, and all the dirt comes out.
Ehud?
Yes, I think so.
And all that swallows the sword.
Yeah, yeah. And all the dirt comes out. That dirt is the poop.
Yes. Yeah, you don't want that in the meat.
You don't want that when you're.
Yeah, you don't want to hear a hunter go, I just take it and I put it all on a giant grinder and grind it up, and we just have ground everything.
Yeah.
You would not want that.
Right. You don't want the dirt getting.
You don't want the hair.
So
this chili is hairy. Nobody ever will come visit you.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know how we got to hairy chili.
It all ties
this
in.
chili really puts hair on your chest. Wait, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to this.
So yeah, and then the burning off the impurities, similar to like if you're melting down gold to purify it, or silver, you know it's done when you can see a reflection in it, and all the impurities are out of it.
Yeah. And then at the end of this, you've got the cloud of fire at night and shade in the day. So, I always think of this, he provided for him. So, I wonder, though, with the cloud of fire at night, was that hard to sleep by? Did it, was it a giant nightlight? Did it make sound? Maybe it's like white noise?
Maybe. I don't know. I like sleeping next to the fire when I'm camping.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And it did get cold in the desert, so maybe it
keeps away all the scary animals.
It does, the lions and things like that, because they do live in a part of the world where the north end of where lions can roam. And I hadn't thought about that. And then in the day, it did provide shade. So he provided for everything.
Yeah. And it was like the original chemtrails, right?
Maybe. And then it does go back to the garden connection. I believe the climate in the garden was very favorable, and he tried to make the climate conditions favorable for them in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Just some things that you don't really think about, but this is partly human comfort.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot about them succumbing to the wilderness, like from exposure.
Yeah. So that is
Pekudei.
Pekudei accounts. Exodus 38:21 to 40:38.
All right.
And we appreciate you stopping by. Always appreciate subscriptions, likes, comments, thumbs up. Just let us know you're out there.
Share it with your friends.
And thank you for stopping by Sabbath Lounge. This is Matt
and Jake signing out.